Well, hello, my beautiful coffee beans. It's nice to see you. I'm Bullhorn Betty. It's been a few days since we've been on to discuss the case of Nancy Guthrie. She's been missing since February 1st when a masked gunman came into her home and ripped her out of her bed. She's never been seen or heard from since, and many people have wondered what happened. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. There were 3 people that were investigated primarily, and that was Tommaso, her son-in-law, a delivery man by the name of Carlos, and a neighbor by the name of Luke. And it doesn't sound like anybody has been cleared outside of Tommaso Cioni. However, there's been a lot of changes in this case. One of those changes being there was a rental property around the house of Nancy Guthrie, and we're hearing that people, the occupants inside this home, immediately vacated the home when around the time Nancy Guthrie was missing and or presumed taken by abductors. It was very strange, according to a few neighbors, and that has been confirmed by Nancy Grace and I believe others. We also learned that they had thumbnails that was taken off many of the cameras around Miss Guthrie's home. At first, we only heard of the front door camera. The front door camera appeared to have some type of footage on it, which kind of defies the ability to have a jammer. We wouldn't have that footage if a jammer was used. And now we're finding out that, in fact, they do have all of the footage from the cameras. We're learning that now. They're not saying a whole lot other than so far they haven't found anything concerning on the footage that they've received. So I believe that footage is, but there is a theory that's now starting to come about with this, and it's a theory that more than 3 people most likely may have been involved in this. That what people believe is in the pocket that they originally thought was this jammer may actually be a walkie-talkie. And moreover, the reason why this guy was so nonchalant outside of that front door may have been because somebody was already in the house behind the other door. Because why was he at the security door? That wasn't the area that went that he was stated to have broken into. So is it possible there was somebody out the back door and somebody out the front door? Maybe the person inside was communicating with the guy on the outside to come up. There's something really odd about that video of this assailant walking up to the door. He was almost shocked to see a light come on, but he was just very nonchalant. He didn't really care how many times he triggered the camera. He was walking around, trying to find some shrubbery, trying to rip this camera off the front door. So wouldn't that kind of imply maybe somebody was inside that house and could hear the dings from this phone, like ding, like every time it went by, and said, you got to get that camera off. You got to get that camera off, right? So maybe something like that. I don't know. But people are really, really upset with the sheriff's leadership on this investigation. He's been seen at baseball games. He's been seen at the gym more than he's been seen at the office. He's not doing press conferences, but he's meeting one-on-one with media. Then when media doesn't like what he's saying, or he's getting caught in contradictory statements, then he starts 86ing the media. He's clobbered social media. He set up a no parking zone to force media out of the general area. I mean, he's just gone really out of his way to try to cover up some of his bad behavior and to keep a lid on some of the lies that he has perpetrated. Some of these lies, 30 years. 30 years he's lied about his history and his law enforcement experience and his disciplinary record. And there is parts of his disciplinary record that, in all fairness, he should be in jail with some of the people that he has put behind bars. At El Paso, Sheriff Nanos was in trouble. He was kicked off 15 days without pay for assaulting a robbery suspect so bad, kicking him in the head so bad that the guy needed to go to the ICU. This is Sheriff Nanos. This is the real Nanos. This mild, meek guy that we saw at the press conferences, we're hearing, he is not like that in real life. He's angry. He's mean. He yells. So he has some explosive behaviors about him, not conduct that's suitable for any sheriff in this country. And it's not the sheriff's fault that this happened, but it's exposed a lot with the sheriff. And let's not mistake in this. You're saying it's not the sheriff's fault? Well, you know what? It's the sheriff's team that was supposed to properly forensically test that home. And they didn't do their job. They did a piss poor job. You know how we know? We may not be able to see inside that home, but at the end of the day, outside of that home was blood droplets. We knew that she had to have come out that front door. What was there? The bracket was still on the wall. Any forensic team worth their salt would have removed that bracket. What about that foliage there? They knew that she came out, and the assailant most likely was out that door as well. They should have vacuumed that whole entire area in front of that door. They should have taken that mat in for forensic testing for trace. And let's not get started with the fact that we saw zero, and I mean zero, fingerprint dust out that front door. Zero, none. And there was blood out there. And they believed that she was moved and transported from that location through that door. And they didn't take the mat. They didn't take the bracket. They didn't dust for prints. And they didn't vacuum for trace. So, again, it may not be the sheriff's fault that this happened. But his piss poor investigative skills and the fact that he has no seasoned agents barely on the force shows a lack of leadership and a morale issue amongst his department. And that's what it says at the minimum. At the minimum. And so now there is a recall effort out there in Pima County to recall him. Will they have enough? Will they have enough signatures? These are not something that you can put on the computer and get, computer signatures. They have to be wet ink signatures. You have to be verified as somebody that can vote in their elections. And they need over 120 or 130,000 signatures. The congressional candidate believes that he can get it done. So we will see how that works. We will see if they can get the signatures necessary to recall the sheriff. But how piss poor is it that they're trying to recall the sheriff and then a news article comes out saying he's been at the gym more than he's been at work? Meanwhile, this high-profile case and this 84-year-old lady is no closer to coming home, and we're finding out that they have zero potential suspects in this matter. No, I do not live in Arizona. As a matter of fact, I live in Florida. So because I live in Florida, Art, you think I cannot speak logically on something that happened in the Catalina foothills? Okay. I'm pretty sure nobody in this chat actually mimics your virtue or whatever it is that you believe. So whatever. No, I don't. Okay, well then why don't you move on? Scroll up. There's no need for you to be here, right? No need for you to be here at all. You've got all the answers, so you have no reason to be here whatsoever. So have a great day, sir. Please don't make me block you. Actually, I might as well. You're already irritant. You're already an irritant. Might as well. Why do I put up with this? I don't know. Just block. Just block. Life's too short. Life's too short. Right? I bet you don't live in Arizona. I live in Arizona, and you're spot on, girl. Thank you, Elle. I appreciate that. Hearts. It's what, I mean, we've got people down there. It's not like we're not listening to all these people that are out there. It's not like we haven't listened to people that have retired from that very department. It's not like I'm pulling this information out of my butt. I mean, this is stuff that's verifiable. I mean, I can list probably how many people do we have from that are retired or former employees of the Pima County Sheriff's Office. I think there's been 5 or 6 people that come forward. That's a lot. How many other cases do we have that many people willing to talk about their ex-employer? I mean, it's got to be pretty bad that people finally get an opportunity to speak what they've been wanting people to know for so long and nobody would listen. And now they finally have a platform. And then we find out this guy's work history. Holy smokes. El Paso, Texas? He thought he was just a thug with a freaking badge and a gun. I can tell you right now that had he done that in today's society, what he has gotten in trouble for in El Paso back in the 80s, he would be in jail. He would be in jail. He would have been in jail for attempted murder. Attempted murder. You know those you know how people don't like officers because of their brutality? He's one of those. He's one of those officers that give every other good officer a bad name. He's called a rotten apple. Okay? He's a rotten apple, and he could, if you don't pluck that out, which it hasn't been plucked out in a freaking long time, I think the world's got their eyes open. I think the politicians that support him have got their eyes open. I think that this recall effort, it sounds like there's multiple, I mean, it seems like everybody, even people, the Democratic, I mean, we got the Republicans doing the recall. We've got Democrat leaders not saying anything to back him. Like, there's nobody supporting this guy. Like, he's a fish in a pond all by himself. And nobody's backing him. Like, I just listened to I think one of the commissioners or somebody in their government, you could tell and I'm pretty sure he even said he's a Democrat. And so he's been talking about how shocking all of this is and how he understands why they're doing it and supports the effort. So that's basically giving the green light to let's get this guy out. So now you got the Republicans and the Democrats kind of unified on a topic. And when you have people unified on a topic, it seems like it might be the end of the road for Chris Nanos here in the near future. So we'll keep an eye on this recall and find out what happens. But even with all this recall stuff, it's bringing us nowhere closer to finding out who did this and where Nancy is. So I still think she might be closer than we think, because I have always had a problem with the fact that we still don't have a car all these weeks later. And even at the beginning, I said, you know, maybe one of the reasons why we don't have a car is because it was a neighbor. And maybe they walked her between the houses or carried her between the houses. You know what I'm saying? So now we're hearing about a rental that had people in it that split. I'm just saying, you know, it does seem a little odd. So those are your updates. We are going into a phase where, one other breaking news that I have not been able to tell you guys yet. It appears that the Uber car driver recorded the back seat. So we do have it hasn't been made public yet, but we're hearing that there is footage. So we know that there is footage. We have footage of Miss Guthrie going over to her daughter's house in the back of that Uber. I don't know if they're going to release that. I don't think it goes to the integrity of the investigation, because I don't think the Uber driver is culpable or is suspected in any of this. I'm pretty sure an Uber driver's alibi is pretty easy to confirm, just by they're probably out moving about and probably nowhere, around where the crime is being committed at the time the crime is being committed. So we do have that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I know a lot of people were really weird about the Uber driver, but it doesn't sound like it was anything out of the ordinary, to be honest with you. So we have that, and we've got according to law enforcement, they've got all the footage from the cameras. They have located all the footage from the cameras. I think they've got a Yahtzee moment. So from the reports that were being released, is although they've got the footage from the cameras, they haven't had an opportunity to go through everything just yet. And it sounds like so far nothing. Hey, River, it's nice to see you. It sounds like nothing is observed so far. At least that's what they're telling us. So, few things. We've got footage from Nancy's home, from the cameras. It sounds like they found it out. It sounds like there truly was somebody we're not getting we don't get in the drama. This is a true crime channel, so we're not getting into it. I'm not discussing it. We're not doing anything with it. Just nope. But we have this whole thing where they've got the footage. We have it, according to them, nothing alarming just yet. But if they have all the footage, I'm pretty sure they're going to find some things that are alarming, because we have some of the footage from the front door that was released way in advance, and it does show this. This is something I do expect. At some point, those subpoenas, those search warrants are going to have to be released. They can keep those things under seal, but they can only keep those under seal for a certain amount of time. Now, I don't know what time limit the judge has put on these search warrants, and I'm talking about the ones for Carlos and the ones for Luke. Something triggered probable cause in both of those warrants, and they've kept both of those warrants under seal. They didn't hand them to them, because typical protocol is when you go, and the protocol's a little different from FBI to the county, Pima County Sheriff's Department protocols. So no matter what, a warrant is supposed to be left there. One is required to be handed before they get started, and one is required to be handed at some point before they end. I think the FBI is required to hand it to you by the time they end, along with an evidence log. They're supposed to give you, if they take something out of your house, they're supposed to give you an evidence log. Whereas the county, if they do a warrant, they're supposed to hand you that warrant before they even start the search. So different rules for different departments, and I think that's going to be important, because we know that the Luke Daly's search warrant was done. It was a federal search warrant. So no matter how you look at it, they are supposed to leave a copy there regardless. One's required before the search, one is required before the search ends, or by the time the search ends. That is the only requirements. FBI is required to give you a receipt of everything that they left the home with. None of that was done. None of that was done. So that tells me behind the scenes, when they got that warrant, they had preemptively spoke to the judge about keeping that warrant under seal and not producing that warrant either before or after that search ended. And they still haven't received it, because both attorneys for Carlos and Luke have complained about not having copies of said search warrant. So that tells me things are under seal. And it makes me wonder why. And it'd have to be because something is revealing in those search warrants that might tip the hat to what's going on, what they're searching for, who made the statements, and stuff like that. So those can only be, withheld for so long. And that once that time limit expires, they've got to release them. So I'm looking forward to finding out what was truly in those search warrants for Luke and Carlos. But so far, I haven't heard anything about them. So that's really it. That's all, everything in a nutshell that we have. Some of it's good news, some of it's not. It sounds like about a week or so ago, they started separating the DNA. We realized we had a combination DNA, which is difficult. And because they brought it up, it seems like it's going to be more difficult than what we think. It sounds like to me that we don't yet have the technology to do what's needed to separate it. And that's what's going to truly take the longest, is developing the technology to try to separate that particular DNA. And that could take us up to a year to do. So it seems like we have nothing. You know, we're starting to see something more develop here. Like, I think we're away from the family now. I think we're kind of more into a concerted conspiracy. I think because the visits all seem to appear to be on the weekend. I think that is a lead. I think that tells us that the people or persons have day jobs, 9 to 5 weekday jobs, and they are only able to do this on the weekend. So when I'm starting to see that, it's like, how could you find people? And so it makes you kind of feel like construction. And I think that's why they're going down this avenue of construction workers and people in the area, because usually you drive 2, 3, 4 people on a truck. They can be talking about it all the time, and they could be just going in here, working, seeing all these people and hearing about that being Nancy Guthrie's house and Savannah Guthrie, or maybe they just identified that house because it looked like a soft target. Maybe it had nothing to do with them being the Guthries. Maybe that was just dumb luck. But it seems like wherever you look at whatever you see in these images, one thing that stands out the most, it just doesn't seem like this is the first time they did this. It seems like they've done this before. So I'm curious to find out if there was any construction going on in any other area where, somebody had a home invasion or they came into the home like this, because it's that mouthpiece, it's that light, it's how they were getting around at night. That was so creative and clever. I've never seen that done before. And it seems so logical, but still never seen that done before. So it really does tell me that this is, even though they're not a professional in the sense of, James Bond professional, it seems like they've done this before at minimum. So why did they remove her from the house? The only thing I'm going with is I still believe that this was a hit. I don't know why. I felt, in my gut has told me that. One of my strongest theories has been this is a hit. I think this is a hit. I think that it kind of explains everything, It explains why nothing was taken. It explains why there's multiple people. It explains why they were there for 41 minutes. It explains what was in his backpack. It really kind of explains a lot for this being a hit. So has this outfit been hired in the past somewhere else around the United States or somewhere else in Arizona? They just seemed awfully comfortable, at least the person outside that front door that we've observed. So let me know your thoughts. You guys know my Gmail. It's my name at Gmail. So consider reaching out to me and let me know your thoughts. What are your theories about what happened to Miss Nancy Guthrie? I'm very interested in learning. And check out my YT channel. I'm always going over different topics of conversation on the YT. Today was pretty interesting. You might want to go check it out. All right, guys.